Oh, friends, if you're like me, you grew up believing that following Jesus meant a lot of serious, quiet reverence, maybe a little guilt on Sundays, and always keeping your head bowed. We loved him, absolutely. But the whole story felt heavy. It felt like walking around with a massive, beautiful, but very stern textbook under your arm. For years, I carried that weight, loving the man, but wondering why the journey felt so much like a payment plan, and so little like the radical, life altering, utterly hilarious adventure it sounded like in the ancient texts. I mean, here was this guy, Jesus, flipping tables, telling outrageous stories, hanging out with the biggest rebels, and we're all supposed to be sitting still in our pews, right? But a few years ago, I decided to do something crazy. I decided to treat the Bible less like a textbook and more like a detective novel. And boy, did I find something. Something so vibrant, so shockingly joyful, that it completely blew the stained glass windows out of my spiritual paradigm. It started with a question that honestly felt almost sacrilegious to ask, but it just kept bubbling up inside me. It was about the 3 years. The 3 years between the baptism and the crucifixion. Think about it. If the whole point, the entire cosmic master plan was for Jesus to die, to be the ultimate, final, blood soaked sacrifice, then why on earth did the creator of the universe spend 3 whole years teaching, healing, laughing, and stirring up so much good trouble? It's like buying a magnificent complex clock just to smash it with a hammer the moment it arrives. It makes absolutely no sense. And the moment I asked that question, that simple, joyful, curious question, the whole story started to crack open with light. The teachings, the parables, the absurd miracles, they suddenly weren't just filler content before the main event. Holy smokes, this was the entire point. I remember sitting up late one night, eyes wide, reading the Gospel of Luke, specifically that moment where the disciples come back after their first mission trip, totally jazzed up, saying even the demons obeyed them. And Jesus responds, but he tells them not to get excited about the power they wielded, but about something far deeper. He says, and I'm paraphrasing the joy here, don't rejoice that the spirits are subject to you, but rejoice that your names are written in heaven. And then immediately after, he literally rejoiced in the Spirit. Luke 10:21. The Greek word used there for rejoicing is something truly expressive. It's this deep, almost physical exuberance. Can you picture it? Jesus, the man of sorrows, or so we've been told, breaks out in this unrestrained spiritual joy. Wow! I always thought Jesus was supposed to be serious 24/7. But here he is, celebrating with an energy that feels infectious. It hit me then. The 3 years weren't about preparing for a blood payment. They were about delivering the keys to the kingdom. And those keys were wrapped in joy and an almost scandalous sense of empowerment. I started realizing that the very things that got him in the most trouble weren't his theological statements about his lineage, but his outrageous claims about ours. He kept telling people they were whole, they were forgiven, and they didn't need a middleman for their connection to the divine. He was, in effect, trying to shut down the religious business model of the day. And let me tell you, when you mess with people's livelihoods and power structures, you invite a lot more trouble than when you just preach abstract philosophy. I mean, imagine the high priest's face. Here's this carpenter's son from Nazareth telling everyone from the tax collector to the street beggar, you are the temple, you have the direct line, no appointment necessary. That's not piety, folks. That's a spiritual revolution. And revolutions, historically, are very, very dangerous to the people at the top. This isn't just a fun fact, it's a total game changer for how we view the man and his mission. This discovery was so thrilling, so life affirming, that I couldn't keep it to myself. I had to create a space to share this renewed excitement, this glorious, surprising truth that the institutional narrative seems to have misplaced. Now, if this idea that the teaching was the threat, that the joy was the message, and that the cross was the reaction to an impossible level of empowerment, if that sparks even a tiny flicker of excitement in your soul, then you are absolutely in the right place. Don't let this be the only thing you watch from me. Seriously. Hit that subscribe button right now and join this journey of rediscovery. Because what we're about to dive into next is the real mystery. The stuff that was so explosive, they tried to bury it with the body. If the joy of Jesus was the key, what exactly were the secrets he whispered that were so powerful they necessitated a state execution? Get ready, because the map we lost wasn't about the road to heaven. It was about the heaven already inside us, and we're going to trace its lines right now. Welcome back, Seeker, because we've just cracked the surface of the greatest spiritual mystery in history. We established that Jesus' 3 years of teaching were not filler, but the core mission. Now we have to ask the deep, thrilling, and frankly dangerous question. What exactly was the content of that message that demanded his immediate execution? It's an intellectual puzzle, a theological thriller, and a personal quest all rolled into one. Grab your seats, because this is where the story gets absolutely cinematic. We have been conditioned to believe that the danger in Jesus' message was that he claimed to be God, that he committed a theological offense. And yes, the religious leaders certainly used that charge, blasphemy, as their justification. But step back and look at the bigger picture, the political and social context, the kind of things that truly upset an empire. An empire, whether it's Rome or a powerful religious system, is built on dependency and fear. It needs you to believe you are small, unworthy, and need an intermediary, a priest, a ruler, a system to access the good stuff, to be declared right with the ultimate authority. It needs you to look up and out. But what did Jesus constantly preach? He kept hammering home one specific, utterly devastating idea. The kingdom of God is within you. Luke 17:20-21. Think about the implications. This wasn't poetry softened for a children's sermon. This was an atomic spiritual truth dropped on the most stratified society in the world. If the divine presence, the very source of all power and goodness, is inside every single person, the poor, the leper, the woman at the well, the despised Samaritan, then the entire system collapses. You don't need a temple. Why travel miles and pay heavy fees to a stone structure when the divine resides in your own heart? My goodness. Imagine the loss of revenue for the temple authorities. You don't need a priest. If you have direct access to the Father, if you are one with the source, why would you need a human mediator standing between you and the infinite? The entire priesthood becomes obsolete. You don't need Rome. If your true authority, your true kingship, is internal and eternal, established by the living God within you, why would you bow your knee in ultimate submission to a human emperor? This is why they called him a blasphemer. Not because he claimed to be the Son of God. Rome had plenty of self-proclaimed divine leaders, but because he looked at the fishermen and the prostitutes and said, "You are too. The same power that flows through me flows through you. Greater works than these shall you do." John 14, verse 12. Can you hear the thunder in that statement? He wasn't elevating himself. He was elevating every single human being to the same level of potential, the same level of divine connection. This was the ultimate act of social and spiritual destabilization. And here's where the thrilling detective work comes in. The part that made my blood run cold with excitement. After the crucifixion, a new narrative had to be created. The empire, both Roman and the nascent religious establishment, could not allow the message of self-divinity to survive. They could, however, profit immensely from the story of a dead Messiah. The message had to shift from "the kingdom is within you, you are whole," to "you are a miserable sinner, broken and fallen, and you need a special, one-time blood sacrifice to maybe be saved." And why? Because the second message creates dependency. It requires the intermediary. It demands the tithe. It keeps you looking outside yourself for the key, making you forever reliant on the system that holds the key. The cross wasn't just a random act of cruelty. It became the tool of narrative control. It was redefined as a cosmic transaction rather than a political execution. This shift, this strategic recoding of the message, is what the earliest followers resisted. When you read Paul's letters, written before the Gospels were formally put together, he's not preaching a blood debt transaction. He's talking about something visceral, something happening right now. I have been crucified with Christ, and it is no longer I who live, but Christ who lives in me. Galatians 2:20. Aha! He's speaking experientially, not theologically. He's describing a profound internal transformation, the death of the old self, the ego, the false I, and the birth of the Christ consciousness within. The resurrection is not a distant reward. It is a present reality. I remember reading those words and just shouting out loud in my living room. The story is a map, it's an initiation. The crucifixion they modeled for us wasn't just history, it was a powerful, symbolic blueprint for the ego death that every truly awakened person must face. That moment when all your old beliefs, your old shame, your old dependence on external approval, when all of that gets nailed to the cross and dies. And the resurrection is the inevitable rising of your true, unkillable divine self. The institutional forces didn't fear the man on the cross. They feared the Christ in you. They feared an entire population walking around knowing, deep in their bones, that they were God's, children of the Most High, with direct, unmediated access to the source. That knowledge dismantles every chain ever forged by religion, politics, or fear. This is the hidden gem, the deep, thrilling mystery that was buried for 2 millennia. It's the reason why the Gnostic texts were hidden in the desert and the mystics were persecuted. They carried the raw, undiluted message of self-mastery and inner divinity. If this truth is resonating with you right now, if you feel that familiar, quiet ache of recognition in your chest, then I'm asking you, humbly, please don't just consume this information. Engage with it. If you get any result from applying this understanding, if you feel a lightness, a shift, a new connection when you pray, come back and leave a comment telling me what happened. Your story is part of this larger resurrection, because the journey is far from over. If the cross was the ego death and the teaching was the key, what does the final, glorious, triumphant act, the actual resurrection, mean for our lives today? That's the grand finale, the final piece of the puzzle. And it's where we discover that the separation we've been taught to fear was the greatest illusion of all. We're going to pull back the final curtain next. We've navigated the radical joy of the teachings and uncovered the dangerous truth that the kingdom is within you, a truth that forced the hand of an empire built on dependency. We've established that the entire gospel narrative is an internal map, a blueprint for the ego's death and the soul's awakening. Now we arrive at the culmination, the final, most glorious piece of the puzzle, the resurrection. What does the empty tomb mean for the person watching this video right here, right now? We were taught to look at the resurrection as a singular, historical, one-time miracle, something that happened to Jesus so that we could be rewarded later. But if the entire story is an initiation, a pattern to embody, then the resurrection is not a hope for the future. It is a present reality. Think about the moment Mary Magdalene goes to the tomb. It's dark, it's silent, the stone is rolled away. This is the moment of pure possibility, the space right after the ego has died, after everything you believe to be true, your shame, your unworthiness, your reliance on external systems has been stripped away. You are in the void, the dark night of the soul. And what emerges? Not the old man, but the risen Christ. The Gnostic Gospel of Philip, which was deliberately suppressed, puts it in the most direct terms possible. Those who say they will die first and then rise are in error. If they do not first receive the resurrection while they live, when they die, they will receive nothing. Incredible. This flips the whole narrative on its head. The resurrection isn't about escaping death. It's about waking up before you die. It's about walking around on this earth, in this body, with the full, unfiltered awareness of your own divine, unkillable nature. Jesus didn't model the resurrection so that you would worship him from a distance. He modeled it so that you would follow him through the same passage. You are meant to be the living proof that the human and the divine are not separate. You are the incarnation, and your life in this moment is the demonstration of that eternal truth. We are entering a time when humanity is collectively realizing this ancient, profound secret. The old systems built on fear and scarcity are crumbling, not because we are fighting them, but because we are simply walking away from them, realizing we don't need permission to access the sacred. When you stop believing you are a broken sinner, dependent on external salvation, you stop tithing to fear. You stop giving your power away. This is the true, quiet revolution. The cross could not destroy the message. It tried to kill the man, but it only amplified the message through the ultimate act of symbolism. The truth that rose on the third day was not just in one body. It was the truth that Christ is the anointed consciousness, the awareness of union, and it lives. It has always lived in you. My friends, if you feel this stirring, if that old story finally loses its grip on your throat, it's not a coincidence. It is remembrance. That fast heartbeat, those unexpected tears, that sense of a forgotten truth stirring in your chest, that is your own resurrection taking place. That is the stone rolling away. You are not worshiping Jesus correctly by making him the exception, the one and only Son, while you remain forever less than. You worship truly by becoming what he became, awake, whole, undivided from the source. The message he died to give us was simple. You are the beloved. You are the offspring of the infinite. The Father and you are one. I am is not God's name alone. It is yours. So here is the final, ultimate conclusion of this great, thrilling journey. You are the temple, not a building made of stone, but your body, your breath, this moment. You are the altar. You are the priest. You are the offering. And you are the presence that receives it all of it, all at once, undivided. Take a moment now. Let your eyes soften. Take a breath that affirms the life within you. And just know this truth deep in your bones, not as a belief, but as an absolute certainty. The kingdom is within you. It is here. It is now. It is you. You have been awake all along. The tomb is empty. And the one who walks out, risen, remembered, is you. This knowledge is too big, too powerful, too liberating to keep to yourself. If this ignited something inside your soul, please share this video with one person who you know is still searching for the light they can feel but cannot name. Share it not as information, but as an invitation to awaken. Keep seeking, keep laughing, and keep living in that joyous, awakened state. I'll see you in the next video, where we dive even deeper into the practical steps of living this risen life.